Makes a lot of sense. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the central bank's interest rate. And so, Matt, when we're looking at this cut that's just happened, we always draw this line back. Where were we last time we were at this rate? And the first thing I said when me, and Nicole were looking at this chart, I was like, it's funny. It never hovers around this rate. Whether it's hovering really low or we're escalating and then working our way back down. And Nicole, you said that's the roller coaster ride with this thing sometimes. So when were we at this again? And were we going up or were we going down?
Yeah, we were heading down after the great financial crisis in the US, and it went around the entire world. And prices of homes have gone up quite a bit since 2009. So you can see that we're still at an elevated amount, even with inflation. But we've seen one of the best growths in prices in the real estate market in Canada from basically 2010 till 2022. And for the vast majority of that time, the overnight rate was at 1%. When did the housing market slow down? After 2017, when interest rates rose up to, I think it was 1.75 on the overnight rate, which then dropped right after, which started to ease before the pandemic even started because the market just wasn't happy with where interest rates were. So we still have a little bit of ways to go before we're at anything close than what we've seen over the last 15 years, really.
And what's interesting, I'll share with you guys, is it's only been the last 2 years that I've been watching this as closely as you and I are now, Matt, because I found that you love stats. And so as we shared our love for the statistics going on in the real estate world, you introduced me more to the economic side. But it's funny looking back at this, I can tell you what the boots on the ground felt as a real estate agent coming into that start of 2020. I remember being in a team meeting and we were talking about how things were picking up and starting to accelerate again. And we were already having conversations. All right, who can we help with this information? And we said, all right, your guys that need to level up, now is the time to get them to do that because we're anticipating a lot of price acceleration, right? So get your townhome guys into the detached if they can, because that gap is going to grow, right? Get your condo guys into the townhomes. Anybody that can take that next step up, now's a good time to do it because we're starting to see a little escalation in prices and those gaps will grow. Now, we didn't know that a pandemic was right around the corner, but those conversations had already started to happen. And part of the reason why those conversations were happening, just like you said, is this came down, right? So I wasn't paying attention to this on a daily basis. I was just watching my real estate market. Right. But there's the impact. And it's so funny hearing you say that now, it takes me right back to conversations I was having with clients at the time. I just didn't necessarily know that the upper factor of why. I just knew what I was seeing in their housing markets on why to do it. So that's why looking at this stuff is so important. And it's very interesting. And Cole, with you guys looking at this all the time in terms of what you're seeing on the bank side, and you're almost a leading indicator for real estate agents because you start seeing more pre-approvals start coming across your desk. And I love when we have you on our coaching morning calls and you say, guys, give it a couple of weeks. Watch what I'm seeing come across my desk right now. I'm getting busy. And then sure enough, a few weeks later, a month later, everybody on the calls like, man, I had 5 appointments last week. I'm getting really busy. And you're like, yeah, I'm doing all their approvals right now. People are going to be out looking because they're asking for money.
100%. And I'd say that probably over the last year as well, it's been the most I'm going to use the word volatile in the sense of just up and down, where I'm like, oh, I expect this week to be quiet, and then it's like crazy busy. And it's interesting because it's a little bit atypical compared to what I'm so used to over the last several years. But 100%, it's one of those things where as soon as I start to see it, I get the same feedback from you guys.
Now, here's another question I have for you. As a listing agent that's out there with listings in the market, and I'm seeing really, Matt, we've talked about listing inventory is super high. I talked to my videographer and my virtual photographer, and he's like, man, I'm so busy. And it's because so many homes are listing. And now, Nicole, you've had times where you're really busy. You're getting a lot of pre-approvals going in. Do you find also that after you give somebody a pre-approval, you see that same people still sticking around and not having made a decision yet? Because our sales volume is still so low. We're at almost like 15-year low on a year-to-date scale for transaction volume on the Toronto board. Are you feeling that on your end, or are you lucky enough that all your guys are getting approvals and they're going out and making decisions?
So it depends on the type of buyer. So for sure, like my first time home buyers, this is probably the most I have done. And I'd have to go back and look at my actual numbers. But ever since last year, when we introduced some of those new rules and incentives, it has been the year of first time home buyers for me. And I know that's the case for a lot of other mortgage brokers out there as well. Where I see the back sitting on the fence is my upsizers. And that is more so to do with the fact that, or there is a lot more concern with the sales themselves. So clients are either stuck with unrealistic expectations about what the value should be for their sale, and that's kind of have them sitting on the fence. No, we're just going to wait. I know we can get this, or whatever the case is. So that is causing a little bit of a hiccup, or also the fact that you have so many clients that are needing to have a specific value on that sale to be able to make their ideal purchase work. And again, it's just kind of that sort of challenge. So that's where I typically see a lot of people more sitting on the fence, is those upsizers, the sale and the buy.
Yeah. Matt, I think that makes a lot of sense for us in our real estate business. I haven't worked with many first-time home buyers this year, maybe only two, and the rest are downsizers or upsizers, but we are running into those same challenges of perfect, we've got a lot to choose from, but the sale time based on certain neighborhoods is quite long. So I would say that maybe we are some of those examples, Nicole, where you see people get their pre-approval, we're getting all of our ducks in the row and ready to roll, and then the sale time is just taking longer. Matt, are you experiencing that as well?
I think there's far too many homes listed right now with unreasonable prices for their property. And they're sitting there for a long time. And it's clear as day that these prices are just too high. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that most people were used to extremely low interest rates over the last 5 years. And now they're a lot higher. And there's just people just are stuck in their mindset that their home is still worth what it was in 2021. 2022, 2023, but unfortunately it's 2025 and things have changed.
And that's why these economic conversations are so important, is because affordability is still such a big factor, right? And the other side of that, we've said a few times, is as unemployment is rising, no job, no purchase. It's just not happening, right? So I think that's why these things are so important to take a look at.